Welcome to DotLeap number 9 in 2024, How Much for a Soul? This time we are going to be looking at the question, should we pay a surveillance apparatus to get the world to pay attention to us? The crypto analytics giant Chainalysis recently posted a treasury proposal to integrate Polkadot for a whopping $10 million. To be clear, this means that they would be adding Polkadot to their service of analyzing chain transactions and doxing the addresses associated with them. This is for the purposes of KYC, AML, and all of that other stuff. After a bit of back and forth, they reduced their ask to 7.5 million USD or 1 million DOT, and the DOT community rallied and managed to nail the proposal, preventing this colossal waste of money. But friendly neighborhood whale Giotto had other plans. In a mutinous attempt to push this through for the sake of widespread industry perception of legitimacy, he recommended to Chainalysis that they post the proposal again, but this time on the root track. Now, if you're not familiar, the root track is a special track in the proposal queue on Polkadot's open governance system, where changes can be enacted on the system level. This means that the entire runtime can be changed and all sorts of other really high-profile changes can be enacted. This is not just contextually bound to Treasury, it is actually affecting the entire chain. Well, any call can be executed on the root track. This is where OpenGov drama reaches soap opera levels. The previous rejection was only successful because of the Decentralized Voices program, which is Web3 Foundation's effort on kind of delegating their stack of DOT to various key people in the community so that they can vote for them. The Web3 Foundation therefore resolves the problem of, using their tokens for, quote unquote, nefarious purposes, if some people would surely, identify them as such. Instead, for them, these individuals will be voting. However, since these delegations are not done on the root track, only on the treasury tracks, this means that the root track is purely plutocratic on the VC and founder level. Since Giotto is a power player in that regard, and due to his ties to other top DOT holders, the proposal was expected to pass with ease. But Giotto had a change of heart due to community pushback and organized the ability for the DOT holders to cancel this referendum with a cancel referendum, which was subject to normal voting, so decentralized voices could also vote on this, and so they did. The cancellation was successful. Now, this spiderweb of refs has been resolved and the root referendum is ultimately cancelled. Chainalysis will not be grifting the treasury for now. So let's take a look at this story from a few different perspectives. Is Chainalysis necessary? This is probably the most important discussion point. The argument for the necessity of Chainalysis integration is that serious players need Chainalysis support. This is something that Giotto tweeted on X. You should click the link in the written version of the newsletter to get to the tweet. When encountering such outrageous claims in general, it helps to remember Hitchens' razor. What can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. Even if some megacorp would express marginal interest in Polkadot, and even if they were to quote the need for CA for Chainalysis as the absolute requirement to start building in the ecosystem, surely expressing this demand publicly would help Parity and Web3 Foundation and the DOT holders in general accept the fact that Chainalysis is needed if this is indeed the kind of adoption we need, and I say it's not. Surab had the absolutely outlandish idea that Chainalysis integration will somehow eliminate child porn and terrorism and other evils from Polkadot, and that the absence of Chainalysis will therefore doom Polkadot to such a fate. Apart from being a rather embarrassing think of the children attempt at steering the conversation, this is also a functionally retarded claim in that it asserts that a protocol should or could have such measures somehow built in. Chainalysis will do nothing to police the traffic of Polkadot. They might tag addresses and help with doxing, but such tools are really not hard to build. It's the data that costs money. My reply here to his argument was, Polkadot is centralized enough to, ref out anything unpleasant through regular referendum processes. With all the enterprise leanings, do you think if I put up a Let's Paint Mohammed decentralized remark-based picture book or a Men Are Better Than Women billboard, the root track wouldn't nuke it out of the chain's history immediately in order to make sure the DEI-infested USA-based megacorps or Sharia-powered entities from the Middle East could use Polkadot? They for sure would, immediately. My point is, Polkadot has censorship methods built in, and Chainalysis will help with none of the problems that you fear, while at the same time draining the treasury epically, preventing anyone new from coming in the hopes of getting paid to build something, because the treasury, which is much emptier, will also be much more conservative. Now, is Giotto acting in good faith? I have no doubt that Giotto, as a very prominent DOT holder, is acting in good faith toward his bags. This is important to realize. He does not care about the technology, idealism, freedom, censorship, resistance, or any Web3 values whatsoever. All he cares about is getting that pump out of Polkadot, because every dollar DOT rises in price, his holdings increase by several dozen $million. And if I'm being honest, I would be doing the same thing. People are loyal to their biggest comfort, the provider of their longevity, to their own skin in the game of their own choosing. They are loyal to their investments and hopes and not to some idea. For example, see Bitcoiners for whom centralized entities or smart contracts are only evil until they adopt Bitcoin, and then they become the best ever. As such, I admire Giotto's transparency in all things Polkadot. He has an agenda, and the agenda is number go up. Nothing wrong with that. But is he acting in good faith towards the ecosystem or towards Web3? No. I don't think he's acting badly, he just doesn't even notice it. What is stopping Polkadot from becoming popular? Is a lack of industry standard AML tooling what's actually holding Polkadot back? No, of course not. The problems of Polkadot have been identified many times over. Unshackled and enthusiastic hackers and devs are driven away by subpar DX and techno-elitism attitudes from HQ. Users are mainly driven away by a lack of UX efforts and the creative bankruptcy of the ecosystem, coupled with the paralyzing fear of trying something new in the userland level. Couple that with the fact that these clones of whatever exists in Ethereum have 1% of the TVL, and realistically no user has a reason to pay any attention to Polkadot. XCM's arcane interface and its bugginess lag behind solutions like those proposed by Polygon now, and still offer no novel use cases beyond move token here, move token there. Finally, anyone who would like to make a difference is immediately driven away by the completely captured governance system, which has devolved into a playground of half a dozen whales. Polkadot's problem is not a lack of industry-level AML. It is the lack of focus on developer experience, a lack of focus on UX, lack of creativity and active pushing out of creative endeavors, and the naivety of if you build it, they will come attitude. They will not, because there's maybe 30,000 users in crypto total. Granted, many of these problems are being worked on. DX efforts are underway, UX efforts are also in full gear. I do fear it may be too little too late, but I guess we'll see if we can turn the ship around. But what is the way forward? Now that we've seen the problem of OpenGov in action and how it can easily be corrupted with enough voting power, and how easy it is for a whale to completely drain the treasury using the root track, is OpenGov really the way forward? I've been espousing the brokenness of OpenGov for a while, even going so far as to propose an alternative in a past edition of DotLeap. But how do you implement something that asks those who need to vote for it to relinquish their power? OpenGov is, in my opinion, unfixable. We will not get to where we need to go with OpenGov or its modifications. The way forward is not definable because Polkadot has no idea whom it wants to cater to. Gamers? Then don't push out the ultimate data structure for games. DeFi degens? Then don't push out the ultimate chain abstraction layer cluster, which would allow unprecedented TVL influx and cross-ecosystem utility. Mom and pop investors? Then by all means, keep funding bottom-of-the-ladder Indy 500 racers from a country which is borderline homicidal towards any kind of crypto gambling or utility, but I think we all see how that's gonna end up. Builders? Then stop introducing breaking changes, keep a tightly focused set of tutorials and forkable prototypes up to date, and incentivize experimentation. Run a public good Inc. chain and incentivize building on it, while maintaining a task force of prototypers and tinkerers whose only mission is to come up with creative stuff on that chain. But above all, pick a target audience. With a maximum of 30,000 active users in crypto globally across all ecosystems combined, the PMF does not exist. Target outside it, but target. Casting a wide net makes no sense here, because anyone can promise that their megacorp needs a particular service only to be wooed by a competing protocol with a grant once that particular service has been added under a massive treasury grant. Just as Polygon acquires its third company of builders creating exactly what they need to grow further, it's sad to see this complete loss of focus from Polkadot, which should, frankly, be on top of the world given the tech is put out so far. We can do better than sell our soul to a surveillance apparatus for a short-term micropump. Let's do better. And now for some Polkadot and Kusama updates. Snowbridge initialization on Bridge Hub and Asset Hub has passed and executed. This will make decentralized bridging from Polkadot to Ethereum and back possible soon. Ethereum state is already being synchronized. Part of the Polkadot treasury is about to be moved to Asset Hub. The proposal is passing. The People chain has been activated on Kusama, moving all identities out of the relay chain and onto this bespoke one. This moves the needle closer to the minimal relay chain requirement for Jam, while also making it possible to build advanced identity functionality separately from the network's core functionality. Nova promptly added support for this. Giotto correctly identified the advantages of optimistic project funding, the ability to redistribute some Polkadot inflation to projects worthy of this support without grants, bulk payments in advance, contracts, and other complexities. All you have to do is good work, in theory. And then Giotto's proposal to reduce inflation in Polkadot has failed. On the development side, Polkadot version 1.12 has been released. Major changes include change fork calculation algorithm, make parachain template async backing ready, refactoring XCM simulators, allowing for zero existential deposit in benchmarks, so you can benchmark without existential deposits, adding an option to whitelist peers in RPC rate limiting, so some peers can have unlimited RPC calls, and more. EduChain, an education-focused parachain maintained by the Web3 Foundation's technical education team, has been launched. This new effort should provide ample opportunity to have skin in the game and learn on and improve the DX downsides of Polkadot's dev ecosystem. This is a great job by the TechEd team. Polkadot API posts an update thread as it nears 1.0 release. OpenZeppelin released a secure default runtime template. If you're launching your own chain on top of Substrate, this is the approach to take. Implementer's guide for a new disabling strategy has been added. Node devs should take note. And a full support reconnecting RPC client has been merged. Token burning functionality has been merged into the core node and can also ignore death, meaning you can burn your account into reaping. XCM dry run mode has been merged in, which should allow wallets and clients to simulate XCM failures, hopefully. Users can now also pass in custom nonces via the Polkadot API, and Kian's idea of an omninode has been described on the forum, which is a type of node software that all parachains would use, some sort of standardization well above the default Substrate framework. This standardization would reduce the overhead of maintaining a node and standardize upgrades, preventing incessant metadata updates in UIs, wallet breakages, and much more. Delegated staking palette was introduced so delegated stakers can participate in governance, and this is part of multiple staking strategies PR. The NOMT, the Nearly Optimal Merkle Tree database, has been introduced by Rob, a new type of blockchain database designed to push modern SSDs to their limits. The ability to sign a pre-hashed message was also added into the SDK. On the connected parachains, dApps, and others front, we have PolkaSafe, which introduced organizations for contextual switching of safe groups. HydroDX introduced their own newsletter covering the chain's progress, and Hyperbridge was the first parachain to activate async backing, immediately producing 6-second blocks. Async backing is now available across Polkadot. Morales Web3 added Moonbeam support, providing data feeds for this parachain to its developer community. Everloot introduced its own marketplace, and on the community and ecosystem side, the recording of Gav's jam-related X-Space from the other day was published. Gav's auctioning off of the ETH yellow paper, Polkadot white paper, and Jam gray paper, all signed, has ended, collecting a whopping 360k Glimmer, almost 100k USD at current prices. Filippo's micro-explainer on Polkadot's biggest upcoming upgrades has been posted on X. I recommend taking a look. And the account page on the Polkadot wiki has been significantly revamped, explaining the account system and account locks in greater depth than ever before. A list of new Web3 Foundation grantees has been published. Among others, these include Elastic for their core time visualizations, Gmajor's XCM tools, a CLI tool to easily create substrate chains, and Rui Morai's threshold signature implementation. Seraya covers it in depth on Twitter. Link is in the written version of the newsletter. A really good X-Space on Jam with Gavin Wood. This is another one, so I recommend listening to it. And then we have two interesting wish for change proposals. One wants to redefine Polkadot 2.0 as a term and all of the stuff that it encompasses for more straightforward marketing, which I think is a good idea. And a rather controversial proposal was to abolish decentralized voices, predictably issued by Giotto. The answer should be no, given what we've learned above from the Chainalysis fiasco. Eskimor goes deep on what it's like to develop core node software at parity and things happening under the hood. I recommend giving that a read if you're of the developer persuasion. And a nice analysis of call or influencer effect on coin prices has been published and is solid enough to debunk any no-fall will help us pump the token delusional holder that thinks influencers still matter. Finally, Real Vision hosted Gavin Wood on the topic of Jam, which is yet another talk about Jam with Gavin Wood. Lots of material to go through, lots of stuff to parse and absorb, and lots of stuff to learn on how Polkadot is evolving. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.